Chapter 43. Hunter felt safer once he was among the trees. He knew the sea dragons would not be in the tangle of tree roots and branches. He moved as a hunter, but this time he was not hunting for food. Rather, information and insight were afforded to his careful eye. Where was the lair of the queen and her consort? Shortly after entering the forest, he came to a stream. He followed the stream away from the sea. Streams were the fingers of the forest, and he wanted to find the hand and then the arm and then the head. The head would be where the queen and king would make their home, and it was there that he would ultimately find a way to enter their home, and from there he could lay his poison on their skin for them to die a quick and painless death. Though, on the point of being painless, there was no real proof of that other than the speed at which one died when exposed to the poison of the willow bird. It was in a matter of seconds, so even if the pain were extreme, it would at least be only a few seconds of extreme pain. He continued to follow the stream. Its water was pure and fresh. It came from somewhere deep, where the rains that had fallen on the island over many centuries had been filtered. Its depth was shallow, its current strong, so, to Hunter, it was obvious there was an incline. He could feel it, and it was that incline that he followed uphill. It was possible that the arm was a hill and the head a mountain. Dragons love the high ground. As he followed the stream, ducking underneath branches and bushes, he could see the light brightening. The world in which he was stealthily moving through began to reveal itself. It was stunningly beautiful to him. The foliage was thick and graceful, churning in greens and yellows, occasional reddish browns and rich purples so deep they almost looked black. He finally came to a rock wall covered in vines, and then he heard it, its voice unmistakable, but when he turned to face it, there was no one there. At first, he didn't understand the voice. It was an unfamiliar language.
"Who are you?"
Hunter asked.
"I am the curator,"
The disembodied voice said.
"Be still."
In the next moment, a bright light bounded all of the space that Hunter could see, but only for the slimmest of moments. Suddenly, standing before him was a being that looked like a deer's body covered in bronze-colored scales, a dragon's head, and a lion's tail. It was the strangest-looking creature he had ever seen, and Hunter had seen some very peculiar creatures of late. Still, this creature was a mixture of other creatures all in one body, and it was smaller than him. He felt no threat from this creature, but still, he crouched in his hunting style.
"The curator?
Hunter repeated in the form of a question.
What is it that you curate?"
This, the island and its creatures. I decide who comes and goes upon this island because it is I who gave birth to this island's magical creatures, and you, being a werewolf, represent a threat to my creations. Are you hungry?
No. Are you offering food?
I am assessing whether I should let you live or die.
How exactly would you go about killing me, little creature?
Hunter added the last words as a not-so-veiled threat to his supremacy as a powerful warrior.
Oh, I would not do the killing,
The curator replied.
I am a chillin, a mythical creature that barely exists in this world, and yet in my own world, I am among the most vibrant of all creatures because I have been all creatures, and in our future, I will be new creatures yet to be born.
You sound like a god.
I am a chillin, and only that. Others have called me many things. Others have been wrong.
So, if not you, who kills me? Who tries to take the honor?
Hunter asked.
I have not decided. There are many choices. However, first, answer me 3 questions.
Hunter stood to his feet, convinced that the threat of the Keelan was minimal at most.
And if I answer them correctly, will you allow me to live?
My first question, why are you here?
Hunter thought about it, careful not to lie or give too much information.
To survey this island and understand it.
You have not answered my question, only started to answer my question. Please answer it fully.
Hunter lowered his eyes as if suddenly studying the ground.
There is a creature on this island, new to it, and it is larger than any creature ever seen before. It is a dragon, but unlike others in this world, it is much larger and much more powerful. This dragon lies. It has told everyone that it is the manifestation of this planet and acts as its representative. It is God. It desires to rule this planet and, by extension, all of its life forms, which would include mine. Werewolves. I am here to evaluate ways to kill it and thus remove it as a threat.
The Keelan nodded as if Hunter's answer was acceptable.
My second question, why are you here?
Hunter chuckled.
Are you a broken little doe with a dragon's body? You just asked me that question.
Here.
The Keelan repeated the one-syllable word very slowly.
It can mean multiple things. Here can mean this island, as you answered in your first response, but it can also mean your species, or this planet, or even this universe, or even as a bodiless being of consciousness. So why are you here?
The eyes of the Keelan narrowed like an investigator, piercingly curious. Hunter scratched his chin and glanced upward, following the vines to the cliff above them.
I'm a werewolf. I'm the eldest warrior of my clan. I direct its hunting activities. I decide where to hunt and when to hunt. I am here to help my tribe survive and prosper. That is why I am here.
The Keelan nodded.
My third question is, why are you here?
If you want me to answer as a bodiless consciousness, I remind you, you are speaking with a werewolf who is a warrior and a hunter. I am not the shaman of our tribe.
What would your shaman say to my question?
I don't know.
Okay, then I have decided.
The Keelan said softly.
You shall remain alive and on this island. But rest assured, at my choosing, you may disappear in the blink of an eye should you take action that transgresses my role as curator.
Even though I didn't answer your third question.
Hunter asked, his curiosity getting the best of him.
You did answer it.
Hunter's entire face squinted as if the sun suddenly shone in his eyes.
How is that an answer?
Everything is an answer to a question, even utter silence. Once the question leaves my mind, it seeks its answer, and the response is always an answer of some kind.
Hunter nodded slightly as if the Keelan's words made sense to him.
May I ask a question of you?
You can always ask.
This dragon I speak of, where does it live?
I imagine from your description, anywhere it desires.
The Keelan answered cryptically.
Are you saying you don't know?
I'm saying that a giant dragon who believes it is God can live wherever it wants.
Hunter sighed a little bit.
And if you were such a creature, where would you live if you lived on this island?
The Keelan paused, pretending it was deep in thought.
Can it fly?
There is one that flies and there is one that swims.
And which are we discussing?
Let's say it was a place that could accommodate either one.
Well, that narrows it down quite a bit. Are they the same size?
Yes, approximately.
And what is the wingspan of the one that flies?
About 60 meters.
Oh my, that is certainly a creature I did not create. And you say they are here, on this island. You've seen them?
Hunter nodded, his eyes as firm as his voice.
Yes.
The Keelan turned and began to walk away.
Follow me.
Hunter gave one last look to his surroundings, wondering if he would be better off continuing his climb or following the Keelan, who called itself the Curator. If the Keelan was telling the truth, Hunter reasoned he should know the island better than he. He decided to follow the Keelan for a while to see where it led him. There was not a path anywhere in the forest, and being that the Keelan was smaller than Hunter, it was easier for it to move through the dense forest floor. Never in his teaching had such a creature been brought up, so Hunter assumed that this creature was rare, maybe even invisible.
Why are you helping me?
Hunter asked.
Because I believe you.
What part of your belief motivates you to help me?
It would have to be the part where you explain that these dragons believe themselves to be gods. They cannot be gods, so either you are wrong or they are. Either way, it is a topic that is relevant to my interests. I want to understand which of you is wrong, because as the curator of this island and its inhabitants, I decide who lives on this island and who is banished from it.
As a werewolf, an animal that actually despises water, you can appreciate that we have never been on this island before. I am only here to learn where these dragons live.
You want to kill them, I understand, but that decision is not yours to make. If they are not on this island, by my invitation, or that of a higher authority than I, then I will remove them on your behalf. Happily, if a higher authority has invited them, then I will not aid you in your efforts to eliminate them. Quite the opposite, I will oppose you, and my opposition is absolute.
The Chelan turned around to show Hunter a smile and then kept walking purposely. They walked for another 10 minutes or so and came to what looked like a tunnel that was overgrown with vines and bushes. The Keelan turned to Hunter and asked him to pull the vines down, which he did. Behind the vines was a large flat stone. The Keelan nodded at the stone. It was dark and gray with lichen growing on it, giving it splotches of orange.
You need to roll this stone away from the wall. Are you strong enough?
Hunter looked it over and tried pushing it with no result. He stepped back.
There's a slight descent left to right. If I clear those bushes away, I think I can move it.
The Chilin nodded.
I'll wait right here.
Where does it lead?
It leads to an ancient world, the kind of world that would attract dragons of the sea and air, particularly the kind that believes themselves to be royal.
Hunter struggled greatly, but ultimately, the stone moved aside just enough for both of them to pass through. On the other side of the stone doorway, a world opened up like they had just traveled to a new planet. It was a huge cavern, large enough to support his entire tribe, herds of deer, and every bird and animal they could desire. He would have to hurl his spear at least 20 times to go from one side to the other.
What is this place?
Hunter asked.
It is the palace of the air dragons who lived on this island. This was their summer palace, and only royal families lived here, and of course, their servants.
And this is where you believe they would live too?
The Chileen nodded.
Where? It's a big place.
The palace itself is over here. Follow me. It's a bit of a walk.
As they walked, Hunter could see a large hole in the ceiling of the structure that brought in light and would be an accommodating entrance and exit for the air dragons. However, he didn't see anything that would allow sea dragons, especially the size of the queen, to get inside. There were signs of life everywhere he looked, and he suddenly realized that every creature he saw was one that he had once heard about in stories told around fires late at night, but he had never seen with his own eyes. The whole cavern was filled with life, and the sounds were everywhere. Because of the shape of the cavern, the sounds were magnified.
How would the queen get into this place?
She is the sea dragon?
The Keelan asked.
Yes.
There are numerous underground tunnels filled with seawater that enable them to enter. He pointed to something on their left side. That pool, right there, is where they would enter.
As if on cue, ripples began to form on the surface of the pool, and Hunter crouched down behind some large bushes, watching the queen's head emerge, its green eyes opening with a startled expression at the bright light. She slipped out of the pool effortlessly and began to crawl in the same direction as they had been going. Suddenly, she stopped, and her head, mercilessly atop a long neck, pivoted to look at them. Hunter could feel his entire body freeze. His sense of control was suspended. He was suddenly an immovable object, and he began to question if the Qilin had decided to remove him from the island. The Qilin walked toward the queen.
And who might you be?
The curator asked. The queen tilted her head and chuckled.
You are an esteemed Qilin, are you not?
I am the curator of this island. I happen to be in the body of a creature known to those educated in the mythos of history as a Qilin. However, it would be a mistake to assume I am only that.
And what else are you?
The queen asked, unable to suppress her smile.
I am what they call a god, and my new friend here, the one you have immobilized, tells me that you believe yourself to also be a god. Is that so?
Not even so much as a proper name has passed our lips, and already you are accusing me of being an impostor.
The queen turned around, facing the Qilin. Hunter remained frozen in time, yet able to hear the conversation perfectly. His eyes wouldn't move, but still, in his peripheral vision, he could see that the Qilin, as small as it was in comparison to the queen, was not the least bit intimidated by her. It strode right up to her and looked her in the eyes.
Are you an impostor?
The queen snorted some sparks from her nostrils and extended her long neck, glaring at the Qilin.
I don't know why I should answer any of your questions. You are trespassing in the royal house. You have found an excellent way to your death because trespassing in this place carries a death sentence. So, instead of answering your silly question, I will carry out the law. Goodbye.
The queen's belly turned into an orange glow, and she began to inhale. As she did, the Qilin disappeared. The queen abruptly looked around, and her belly returned to its normal sheen of pinks and golds.
Where did you go, funny creature?
The Qilin reappeared on the opposite side of the pool, staring into a headless sculpture.
Did you create this? It looks new.
There was an unmistakable air of invulnerability that the Qilin held, and this invulnerability unhinged the wrath of the queen, whose belly once again lit up. She was just about to exhale her fire stream when, again, the Qilin disappeared.
So I cannot stop you in time, nor will you hold still in space. You are a slippery one,
the queen observed, her tone frustrated and angry. She turned her attention to Hunter, who was just starting to move slightly as if time was returning to his body.
And how, in heaven's name, did a werewolf come to this island? I know very well you cannot swim.
The queen's belly began to change again to the telltale signs of fire. Hunter had to think fast because, this time, the queen was focused on him.
Please, do not kill me. I have a reason to be here. Please.
He put his hands out as fast as he could move them, stepping back a few paces in slow motion. The Qilin moved directly in front of Hunter.
If you try to harm him before I am done with my questions, you will pay the price with your life, and the life inside you as well.
What did you say?
The queen narrowed her eyes. The Qilin just stared.
I asked you a direct question. What did you say?
Yes, it would be a shame to not only die yourself, but to kill the life that you are now carrying. This reality should make you a little less violent, lest that violence turns against you and eliminates you and your future. But I will leave those decisions to you. I only want to ask you some questions.
The queen seemed to compose herself a little better, and Hunter began to move his arms and turn his head normally. He stretched his limbs a little to make sure he was himself again. Once this was confirmed, he remained behind the Qilin, who now seemed to not only be his guide, but also his protector.
And what questions do you have of me?
Are you an imposter?
Imposter of what exactly?
The queen fired back.
Do you believe you represent this planet? Do you believe, as this planet's representative, that you are a planetary god?
I am what I am.
The queen nodded.
Are you nodding that you are indeed these things, or that you are an imposter of these things?
The queen tilted her head, narrowed her eyes to thin slits, licked her lips, and lunged at the Killen like a cobra. Just as the queen's head was about to engulf the Killen, the curator disappeared without a trace, leaving Hunter alone and instantly vulnerable. Hunter leaped to his right just as the queen snapped her jaws in the air, making a loud metallic chomping sound.
I will give no more chances for civility.
The Chillin said, now directly behind the queen.
The next time you attempt to kill either myself or that werewolf, I will intercede and end your life. Do you understand?
The queen looked stunned at the events since slipping out of the pool. Her anger was visceral. She wore it like a heavy cloth that draped over her entire body.
What do you want?
She asked, turning to the new position of the Shilin behind her.
Are you an imposter?
The Qilin asked. Its voice was plain and simple.
No, I am not an imposter. I am precisely what you see, a massive, powerful sea dragon who has been brought to this world to establish alignment for all its creatures, and in doing so, bring peace and prosperity.
And this alignment that you speak of, is it you who decides what all the creatures will align to?
Yes, that is why I was sent here.
Who sent you?
I was sent by a higher god, perhaps the god of this solar system, or perhaps this entire galaxy.
From your response, I sense that you are not sure. Is that an accurate perception?
I suppose it is.
So if you are not sure who brought you here, how can you be sure you are a god of this planet?
I have always been in training to be a god. Something placed me here, at this precise place and time. It was not an accident. The gods do not roll dice. They organize the infinite, and I am here at their behest.
And yet, you cannot cite who sent you.
The Qilin looked a little sad when it spoke, its head shaking.
You are an enigma. I will ask around and see if anyone knows why you are here. But before I do that, where is the one who gave you his seed?
He went to talk with his other travelers, to tell them.
The queen said, turning back to Hunter, hiding behind some bushes.
And to tell them that he would take good care of them and make sure everything was handled equitably. And yet, now I see a werewolf traipsing around in my home like a common burglar.
She sighed long and hard, and her head suddenly came close to the werewolf.
You cannot kill me. Do not waste your time trying. If you want to be a pest, find another target to pester. I have a kingdom to rule. My advice, go help your tribe.
Then the queen turned her whole body toward Hunter, who then became very nervous as to his next move.
Who brought you to this island?
Hunter remained silent, checking her belly for any change in color.
I will ask only one more time. Who brought you to this island? Oriel could barely manage to fly with Soen. There would be no way that she could have taken you. That leaves only two possibilities, altar or obsidian. I need to know which brought you here, and I already know the reason. I just want to know who you conspired with.
Hunter tried his best to look confident when he answered, but his voice was tense and unsettled.
Obsidian brought me here.
The queen's head instantly recoiled.
When?
Just before you arrived.
The queen looked at him carefully.
I don't believe you. I was just with him.
He can fly much faster than you can swim. You must admit this,
Hunter said, feeling his words were confusing to the queen. He didn't care at this point if the queen killed Obsidian. It would only make his task easier. On the other hand, if she knew Alter was his co-conspirator, the queen would paint a target on Alter's back and have her killed, and Alter was an asset he could not afford to give up. The queen moved in a very calculating manner toward Qilin.
Did you bring him here?
I have decided you are indeed an impostor. You operate like one who believes they are immune to the laws of cause and effect. These laws are followed more immaculately by the gods than by any other creatures born to the worlds of space-time. You have demonstrated that you are not concerned with such laws. Therefore, you are indeed an impostor.
And what are you intending to do about it, little creature?
The queen asked, turning her full attention to the Qilin like an ominous predator, showing her ample teeth, releasing sparks in the air, and snorting smoke through her nostrils.
You must be removed.
Suddenly, from above, a massive shadow fell over all of them. It was Obsidian, and he looked angry.
Who is this impostor with a dragon's body and a small and spindly head like a deer? Is he bothering you, my dear? I thought I heard him threaten you. Shall I take his life?
One of the things that is not well known about air dragons is that, once they mate, the males are highly protective of their mates, to the degree that they will sacrifice themselves to protect their mate and the offspring she carries. The Qilin suddenly appeared next to Hunter.
I need to go. I can handle one dragon, but two, even for me, is much less certain. Good luck.
Hunter hesitated for a split second, distracted by Obsidian flying above them, not knowing if Obsidian or the queen would breathe fire on him at any moment. When he turned back to acknowledge the Qilin, it was already gone. He was now alone in the home of two enormous, fire-breathing, angry dragons to whom he had just told the worst kind of lie, the kind that instills distrust between a mated pair of dragons. Hunter made a beeline to the door from which he had come. 5 meters into his mad dash, his whole body froze, as if the hand of time itself gripped him so tightly that he couldn't move. From the corner of his unmoving eye, he thought he saw a mapinguari watching him in the shadows. They were distant, even ancient, relatives of the werewolves. They were powerful-looking creatures, but unlike werewolves, they were shy protectors of the forests. Hunter hoped this one was not so shy.